Welcome to Throwback Thursday, a trip down memory lane showcasing the golden era of RC cars.
What's going on, YouTube? Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Throwback Thursday, where today on the Throwback Thursday bench, we're going to check out the Futaba FXT. Think of the Futaba FXT this way. Futaba was just getting tired of making radios and receivers and servos back in the 80s and 90s, wanted to branch out and get a couple kits under the wings. They commissioned Tamiya to help them out and come up with a buggy and a stadium truck, which is pretty hot back in those days. I want to say this probably came out about 1990. And so what they did was they took an existing Tamiya platform, the Tamiya Stadium Blitzer, beefed it up a little bit, put some steroids in it, injected it with some juice, and came out with a nicer, more race-worthy version. So what do I mean by that? What does it mean it's on steroids? What makes it better than the Tamiya Stadium Blitzer? Good question. While a lot of components are shared between the two chassis, there are some major upgrades on the Futaba FXT that really set it apart miles ahead of the Stadium Blitzer if you were to put it on a racetrack. Let's check those out. The biggest difference here, guys, as you can see, is this chassis. Now, while this thing has been very well used over its years, this is an aluminum chassis, as you can tell by the scratches there. And if you're looking at it closely, you're probably thinking, I think I've seen that chassis before. Kind of screams RC10, doesn't it? From the research I've done online, it looks like they really basically replicated an RC10 chassis here. But it's got this nice big aluminum, another big aluminum brace right here, which is pretty cool, which adds a ton of rigidity to this chassis. We've got fiberglass shock towers front and rear, as opposed to plastic on the Tamiya kit. And this one even came upgraded with aluminum C-hubs, which is pretty trick. So these trucks are unicorns in a lot of ways. There's not a ton of them out there. While they were a superior race truck to something like the Stadium Blitzer, they never really caught on and didn't really gain that much popularity for whatever reason. This one was donated to me by one of you guys out there, one of you viewers. Paul, thank you so much. This thing is one of those buggies, well, stadium trucks, that I'm just not going to come across this thing in my life. And the fact that you just donated this to the channel so we could talk about it and I could enjoy it for the rest of my life means a lot, man. Thank you so much. And now we can bring this thing out for everyone else to look at and check out. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, dude. That being said, let's take another look at this chassis and talk about what we got going on here. So these are the original tires, guys, and they're actually in pretty good shape. Still quite a bit of tread left. Does have ball bearings in it. The rear tires, from everything I read online, are pretty undesirable. I guess they don't have the best grip, but the fact that these still have pointed tread on them is amazing, considering this thing is 30 some odd years old. Now, unfortunately, the upper arms are not adjustable. They are standards, like a fixed size, so you can't adjust your camber, but these can be upgraded if you wanted to. A lot of these parts are almost identical to what you're going to find on a Stadium Blitzer. The shocks are oil-filled units, which is pretty awesome. Four-wheel independent suspension, which is a must-have for a race truck such as this. As I mentioned before, we have fiberglass shock towers, front and rear. Nice and thick fiberglass, super, super beefy. Fiberglass battery tie down. And an ABS plastic gearbox with independent rear suspension. Now, I haven't had this thing apart yet, but I'm pretty certain that there's a ball differential in here. So she's a little bit noisy. She's going to need a little TLC, so I'm going to do a restoration on this, obviously, and get it running and take it out for running video at some point in the future. But that rear diff is squeaking. Needs a little bit of attention, I think. We're going to get that figured out. But it's a two-wheel drive chassis, guys, and these were the hottest thing out there back in the early 90s, maybe even late 80s. I'm not sure exactly when the RC10T came out and Team Losi was coming out with their stadium trucks, but this was a hot class to be racing with, and really cool that that Futaba jumped in and came out with this truck. Let's take a closer look at this body, which has definitely been very well used. It's got a couple colors in it. Like it was originally, well, it's backed with white. The outside's been painted white, and you can see where the paint's flaked on the outside here on these fenders. At one point, this thing was painted like a gold color, like a goldy kind of bronze. So I've got a set of MCI decals on the way, rep production decals. It's tough to find this body, and this body's a little bit worse for wear. So I got my work cut out for me trying to restore this thing. I'm going to try and make this thing look brand new again. So stay tuned for that, because this is going to be quite a project. But really, really neat looking body, guys. Check that out. Got the spare tire in the back there. I love all the bright colors. Futaba. How cool is this thing? So cool. It's going to look amazing driving this thing around. I can't wait to get it out. FXT off-road. So just a really cool body. And I guess from what Paul was telling me, he was asking MCI if they're going to make reproduction of this body, and they said no. Which is too bad, because MCI makes really nice products. But I do have a set of decals coming in for this, so that will be nice. We'll put some nice fresh decals on it, strip off all this paint, see if we can repaint it, really clean it up nice. And if anybody has any tips for me on how to fix that hole right there, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm kind of brainstorming on how I'm going to fix this Lexan body here. So that's it for today's episode of Throwback Thursday. Thanks again for tuning in with me, guys, and taking this walk down memory lane, checking out the old Futaba FXT Stadium Racer. This thing's super cool. And thanks again, Paul, for donating this, man. I really do appreciate it, dude. Thank you. I'm going to work on getting this thing restored. I need some vintage electronics to go in here. I need a vintage motor. We got to dress this thing up straight up 1990s. It's going to be sick. So stay tuned for more videos coming up on the FXT. If you guys have any questions, throw them down in the comment section below. Always happy to answer all you guys. And please take a second just to throw a thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Really does mean a lot to us YouTube content creators. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks so much for watching Throwback Thursday, and be excellent to each other.